Hey, how we doing, my great smelling people? You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Clones.
What are clones?
They're not going anywhere. They're here to stay, and they just keep getting better and better and better. Both from mainstream clone houses and the independent, inspired by houses. Especially in the UK, I'm a big supporter of those. So, if you're at all interested in what my recommendations are for clones that mean you don't need the original. Yeah, you don't need it, but if you're anything like me, you still might want it. But yeah, that being said, if you want to know what my recommendations are for clones that make the originals redundant, then stick around.
Smelling great won't get you a date, but you have no class if you smell it like ass. Wanna smell good and wanna smell nice. Stay tuned for the bald guy's advice.
So welcome back to the channel, guys. Thanks for clicking on view. If an unbiased opinion from an average lad is what you're after, then you've come to the right place.
This place is for freaks.
So let's get this out of the way. There's sort of like a thought process in my selections here, okay? Either they get close enough to the intended scent profile and save you an absolute ton of money, yeah? Like to the point where it almost doesn't make sense to get the original because of how much money you save, right? And I think that's sort of like the unwritten rule of a successful clone. So there's that, okay? The chasm of money, the difference between what I'm recommending and the original. And then there's what I like and what a lot of people like is clone houses bringing back, resurrecting a scent from the dead. You know what I mean? Something that's been long since discontinued that now fetches a really high price on eBay or elsewhere. That is valuable. That is very valuable. In fact, it's invaluable, you know? So I'm going to grab a few from my little bag of tricks down here, and I'm going to tell you why I think they're worth mentioning, okay? Number one, Rasasi Hawas Black. This is being talked about because of the price difference, obviously. Now, it doesn't nail Hachivat as much as when I first sprayed it. Now it's had time to sort of settle, macerate, whatever you want to call it. I think it's mossier. But I also think that bergamot in the top is more overpowering than the pineapple. It's like, it has a little bit of a venticin. It's not just Hachivat. And I didn't think it performed that well. Not as well as what people were claiming, but it does. It really does. My first impressions were a little bit inaccurate, actually. You know, not inaccurate as to my first impressions. They were my first impressions, but now this thing, it's a beast. It's a beast. It's pretty much Hachivat, and especially now it's been out for a while, you can get it for like, I mean, this is 100 mil, you know, 100 mil of Hachivat. It's going to set you back a pretty penny, what, 250 quid or something. So, and I think that's like the lower end actually, but I haven't checked, by the way. I haven't checked for a while. I've got a Hachivat. I've no need to check the retail, but you know, this is going to be 40 quid or whatever, you know, 40 quid, maybe even less now. Actually, probably will be less now. You'll probably be able to get it for 30 quid if you look at the right places. So, you know, 10% of the price. As little as, I should say, as little as 10% of the price. No brainer.
Yeah, no brainer.
Absolute no brainer. Brilliant performance. Smells great, you know. Like I say, it might be a little bit mossier than Hachivat, or at least the moss comes over different that makes you think it's stronger, but it's a no-brainer recommendation. Yeah, I like this stuff. I like it a lot more than I first thought anyway. So yeah, Hawas Black had to be recommended. Yeah, I'll never buy a Paragon. Not as long as I've got this. Creamy wood, plum. It's so nice, man. It's so close to Paragon. Honest to God, like, I haven't smelt the other Latafa. I can't even remember what it's called now. But apparently there's another one. Like I say, I haven't smelled it. I remember the look of the bottle. It sort of looks like the shape of it is a Miyake bottle with like, you know, with like a really large cap on it. The name's sort of rattling around in the old noggin there, but I can't remember. But I don't need to. I don't need to, because this is enough for me, you know? Like, I got this when it first came out, and it was actually about 60 quid when I picked it up. But no regrets. Love it. Absolutely love it. All I've got to say is, guys, that if you already have Paragon, you don't need this, obviously, unless you want to get this so that you don't need to use Paragon as much. But if you want Initio Paragon and you don't care about it sitting on your shelf and looking all pretty, and you don't mind having a ridiculous looking bottle from Latafa with like an embossed 3D radio on the front, why the heck did they even consider calling something vintage radio? It's got no relevance whatsoever to the scent, but I don't care. It smells fantastic. It was like a Paolo Santo sort of like wood, isn't it? I think. But yeah, creamy woods, sort of like clean, creamy smell. And that plum, fantastic, man. Like, had to be a recommendation. Really, really did. Vintage radio from Latafa. As long as this is around and they don't reformulate it in any way, I'll never buy Initio Paragon, as much as I like it. Because this, you know, you can get this now for silly money. Like I say, I paid 60 quid. You'll pick it up for 30 regularly now. And again, around about, what, 10% of the price? No-brainer recommendation. You want Initio Paragon? You buy vintage radio. My friend Vito from Rosa Salas, he really did do this one justice. No, it's not a one-to-one. And if you've had anything from Rosa Salas before, you'll know that he just can't help but put a little bit of a twist on something. It's like he just can't help himself. But this twist is minimal. And I think it actually aids performance. I know the embroxing that he uses. And you don't smell it as much as you do in some of the other scents that he's got. But because I've smelled so much of his stuff, I know I can just smell it. I've actually got some raw embroxing from Vito. But this is fantastic. And do you know what it is, right? This is called Viernes. And it is. This qualifies not just because it saves you money. It saves you money because the scent it's going after is long since discontinued. And it's a bit of a community favourite. Acqua di Gio Profumo. I think the Profumo might be a little bit more, like the greenness of it is a little bit more pronounced. The performance, they're equal. Rosa Salas might be a little bit better. They both got the smokiness that people were sad about when the Parfum was released, because when this was discontinued, what came after it was Acqua di Gio Parfum, and that was meant to be its successor. Now, they re-released Acqua di Gio Parfum a whole year later.
I feel no remorse.
With a slightly more pronounced incense, and that's what was missing from the 2024, I think, Parfum, or was it the 2023 and then the 2024 came out? Yeah, I think Acqua di Gio Parfum was released in 23, and then they re-released it in 24 with a slightly more pronounced incense, and that's what was sort of missing from the one before it. But still not as good or as strong or as present as the incense in Profumo. You get that here. You get it. You get the Acqua di Gio DNA, you know, There's like a patchouli sort of greenness that I think is in this, and it's maybe not as prominent in here, but I haven't had this that long, and Rosa Salas make everything like to order, you know, from base oil. So, and I've noticed that as time goes on, the scents do develop. So perhaps, you know, in not the too distant future, the patchouli might be a bit more pronounced. But honestly, guys, like, this fetches such a high price on eBay, because it's still in high demand, because people, you know, yearn for it. The fact that it's discontinued from such a popular line from Armani, you don't need to worry about that. Just get yourself onto Rosa Salas and get yourself some Viernes. That's all you need to do. So Viernes from Rosa Salas means you don't have to spend silly money on eBay for perfume more. Aha. I just didn't know which one it was. Because the bottles look the same, and that's sort of a clue that there's going to be another one in here. Inside of Parfums, Damber Wabsolute. It's Tom Ford's Amber Absolute. This is great, guys. It's not going to be for everyone, and I like challenging scents. It's not mega challenging.
I reject the challenge.
Smoky, sweet, amber, resinous, like, ugh. Been a long time since I've smelled Amber Absolute. But it's one of those smells that, because at the time that I'd smelled it, it was so different from anything else I'd smelled at that time. You know, because it was a long time ago, and I hadn't been exposed to the plethora of scents that I've been exposed to up to this point. But at the time, it was like, wow. And it wasn't really for me at that time. My taste wasn't as broad, you know. But I do remember it. And this just, I mean, if you want to go and get Amber Absolute off like eBay, you're going to spend ridiculous money, man. Honestly, like silly money. Like, I don't know, 500 quid or something like that. Maybe slightly less, maybe slightly more. Depends which thief you decide to put your money towards. But yeah, it scratches the itch in a major way. It means that, you know, I mean, like, I've no doubt that if I had a little decant of it here and I could do a side-by-side comparison, I'd smell differences, you know. But you smell differences from batch to batch from the same actual fragrance year to year. So, you know, to say that something's 100% one-to-one, can't tell the difference even doing that, I think you might have either an undeveloped nose with little experience, or you might be telling fibs, or you genuinely believe it, but other people might disagree with you. You know what I mean? But it gets you there. It gets you there. Like I say, I haven't smelled it in a long time, but the reason being, its availability is so, you know, so small, so tiny, so narrow. You know, you just can't get it.
Rare thing these days.
Unless you spend silly money. I'm never going to do that, because inside I've got Damber Wabsolute. So if you're at all interested in how it smells, you can actually get, like, you know, a little 10 mils from Insider. You don't need to spend, I think it's like 80 quid or something it is for 50 mil. You don't need to spend that, you know. You head yourself over to Insider Parfums and have a dig around, see what they've got on there. But this is fantastic. It's that smoky, resinous, sweet, woody smell. Ambery, obviously. It's fantastic. Really, really good. But not for everyone. But because of the scarcity and the absolutely astronomical prices of the Tom Ford, I had to include it. Insider Parfums, Amber Up. I nearly said the right name there. Insider Parfums, Damber Wabsolute. Now this scent hits the mark on not just cost, but performance as well. Power! And it's another Tom Ford that that it's inspired by. What is it? It's another Rasasi. La yuqawam. Tuscan leather. It is Tuscan leather. You get mostly raspberry and leather, and it's a bit woody as well. If you just smelt Tuscan leather, you know what I'm talking about. It's sort of like a very faint white floral nuance. I don't know if that's a combination of notes or what. I haven't looked at the notes in a long time. But I've got other, like I've got a Mason Alhambra one down there. What's that called? Toscano leather or something. Forget about it, man. This is the one you want. And it outperforms the Tom Ford. And not just by a little bit either. This stuff's on you for the long haul. And it just smells absolutely excellent. It's not the cheapest, and neither are any of them in this like yuqawam line, because they've got like a jasmine one and other, you know, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 of them in the same line now. This is the only one I've smelled, so it's the only one I can speak on, but definitely worth the money. Definitely worth the money, you know what I mean? This is a 90ml bottle. Or 75ml bottle. So, you know, it doesn't matter that it's considered expensive for a clone, because you go entry level with the Tom Ford, you're going like 30ml, and it's still more expensive than this by a good stretch as well. And then you've got 50ml, which is the next hike, and that's even more expensive by an even bigger stretch. And you're still going to get more juice with this. It still smells almost exactly the same, and it performs better. That's why Rasasi yuqawam is on this list. Definitely worthy of being in the makes the original redundant category. Fantastic. Smells great as well. Smells absolutely fantastic. And if you've never smelled Tuscan leather, but you like things like Godolphin, yeah, or the Acqua di Parma colonial leather, things like that. It's that sort of leather. That's how it comes over. I love leather. And it's one of my favourite leather scents, so it had to be on here. Rasasi yuqawam. Now then, I've just had a ratchet bolt in my bag. We're going for a double header here. And it's from the house of French Avenue. Cha-ching! Liquid Brun and Cocoa Morado. There's nothing else to say. Liquid Brun. Why would I say there's nothing else to say and then start talking? So.
Blistering idiot.
Liquid Brun. This might be one of the closest clones I've ever smelled. I would have probably still got Altair because I'm a Parfums de Marly fanboy and I'm a collector and I'm just a weirdo. But I never feel the need to spray it. There is a difference. I do think that the way the vanilla comes over in the Parfums de Marly is a bit more rounded than it is in here, but I'm splitting hairs, honestly. Like, especially out in the air, you're going to struggle to tell the difference. It's great. It is Altair, and it's that like bourbony, orangey, orange blossom sort of woody, spicy, cinnamony, nutmeggy sort of smell. You smell it before, you'll know. Sort of like a caramel sort of sweetness with it, but there's an effervescence. It's sort of like a fizzy vanilla, you know, like sort not the same, but sort of like in terms of its smell, but in its behavior, sort of like the way that like the sweet vanilla behaves in things like in Victor's Victory Elixir or Boss the Scent Elixir, you know, sort of like a fizzy sweetness. That's how the vanilla sort of like reaches my nose in this and in the Parfums de Marly. But I can't not mention Liquid Brun. And if you know, you know what I mean? If you've had your nose on this, you probably expect to see it in this list. But yeah, you know, cost. I think this still isn't at the lowest end of like what you would consider a cheap clone. I think it's still like 35, 40 quid or whatever. Fantastic, guys. You know, it's Altair. And Cocoa Morado. This is Mason Crivelli's Oud Cadenza. I love this. It's not as close as the liquid Brun. So it's close to its intended scent profile as liquid Brun is, but for the price difference and the negligible differences, really, especially out in the air, this is brilliant. It's like a chocolatey, fruity oud, you know what I mean? A little bit smoky. Like I don't pick it up the same way as I do when I spray on the Crivelli. I do prefer the Crivelli. I think it does smell higher quality, and like I said, Altair does too, but to a greater extent here, you know, the original does smell of high quality, but because of the price difference, yet again, there's like the leather in this sort of like blends with the oud, and it's like it just makes it like an accord rather, you know, like a smoky woody leather. You know, the sweetness of like the vanillic sort of like cocoa sort of smell. I mean, there's other things in here, you know, like dates. You don't really pick up dates. Just contributes to the sweetness. The saffron, I think that just contributes towards the leather, or rather the leather contributes towards the saffron. Saffron smells a bit leathery, you know what I mean? It's really well blended. This is what I mean. Like, there's a lot of notes listed with this, but they're just really well blended, and it smells like, you know, like its own thing, much like the Crivelli. But if I was to summarize it, I would say, you know, smoky, sweet, woody, oudy, leathery, slightly fruity, chocolatey sort of smell with great performance. So, yet again, because of the difference in price and the closeness, the closeness to its intended scent profile, Coco Morado from French Avenue also had to be in the conversation. Now then, let's go for another ratch in the bag. Sapil Bound. Got this for about £7.
That sounds too good to be true.
When there was a sale on it, you know, and like it's normally only about 11 or 12 anyway. I think the most I've seen is £20. And it's called Profumo. Been a while since I've smelled Called Profumo. It's a community darling, long since discontinued. So not only like because long since discontinued, it means it fetches a high price, and that means not only is it resurrecting the dead DNA, but you know, you get it for much cheaper. But what I will say about this is when you first get it, it might smell rather rough. Mine did, and I've heard other people say the same thing. But God, honestly, for the money, like, it's so underrated, this as well. You hardly hear anybody speak about it. Fantastic. Like I say, rough at first, you know, but it's got that Called Profumo DNA, you know, the cardamom, orange blossom, amber, there's some lavender in the mid and that, you know, apple. But for the absolute ridiculously cheap price, and the fact that it's quite underrated and, you know, under the radar. But like I say, don't be scared if you get it and you spray it and you're like, what was he on about? Because, you know, it does, with some time, a little bit of maceration, it does turn into a great scent. Been a while since I've smelled Called Profumo, but, you know, I had it for a while and I just know the smell. This is really close, and like I say, for silly, stupid cheap, it had to be recommended. Sapil Bound. It's an Alexandria. Runway 45. Now this is for obviously the price point. I've got to spray it. This is a clone of Amouage Reflection 45, which I have. What I will say about this though is that it's not quite as dark and resinous and like smoky, spicy. The Middle Eastern vibe that is synonymous with Amouage. In the original Reflection, it's not as present, the frankincense and all that kind of stuff. It isn't really as present in the original Reflection, but in Reflection 45, they bring some of those usual suspects back to make it darker, heavier, and a bit more nuanced and a bit more Arabian. But in this, they're not as present as in the Amouage, so it's sort of like a go-between of the two. In my opinion, anyway, that's how I interpret it. The white florals that are there, obviously, that's the Reflection DNA. But, for what you can get this from at Alexandria, I mean, they're not the cheapest inspired by a house, but the quality of oils are absolutely fantastic. I've never been disappointed by a single thing I've got from them. Not a single thing. So, the fact that you can get it for a far more affordable price, because Reflection 45 is stupid expensive. Like, even when there's a deal on, it's 300 quid for 100 ml. You know what I mean? That's when there's a deal on. So I think the typical price is like 450 or something like that. So it's stupid money. And for the 100 ml of this, you're going to pay about 90 quid. You know what I mean? So it's like 20% of the price. It had to be recommended. Runway 45 from Alexandria. It had to be on this list. Now I've got a couple more from Alexandria, so I think it's a couple, might be just one. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's just one. I think the other one isn't in the bag. There was another one, and that other one was Black Panther. If you're a fraghead,
Why else do you think I'm here?
particularly one with any sort of awareness of Alexandria, you'll know about Black Panther. It's probably its best-selling release, I would imagine. If it's not, I'll be shocked, because it's Tiger. But should I say it's better than Tiger? I think.
No way, man. No way.
Its performance is better. It smells almost identical to it with better performance, and it's cheaper. So let's get that out the way. You know what I mean? I would say Tiger. Sorry. I would say a Black Panther definitely would be on this list. But I think that, just like what else was almost a no-brainer? Vintage Radio, maybe. Yeah. I would say probably Vintage Radio would have been the one that people would have expected to say the most on here. But just imagine Tiger. I said it again. And just imagine Black Panthers alongside it. But this, when I heard about this, I got super excited. Super excited. Because if you've seen my Dior on Parfum 2025 video, you'll know just how miffed I was at the fact that, although it was a nice smell, I'm not saying it smells bad, but what they did, the fact that they released that and axed my beloved Dior on Parfum original, it made me so angry.
Calm down. Calm down.
And I've been using what I've got very sparingly since, which I sort of did anyway, because, it's a very special, elegant, sort of dressed up sort of smell. But now, from Alexandria, we've got Leather Intense. Guys, the way they deliver the iris in this is almost identical. The leather's there too, obviously. Now, I think I might pick up the rose a little easier in the Dior. But I haven't spent much time with this. In fact, I've only just sprayed it on my arm a few times and wore it once. But it's there. It's there. You don't pick up the oud in either, I don't think, really. Not into the traditional sense. There's a dark woodiness there deep down in the base, but if you know the profile, And you, just like me, you were really upset to see it go. And now, because it's gone, you'll see it on eBay for going for silly money. Alexandria's got you covered. If you need that itch scratched, just like I did. Leather Intense from Alexandria. Superb. Now then, when I picked up the insider bottle, I didn't know which one it was, because we also have this. It's another Tom Ford. Plum Harajuku. And this is one of the best smelling things. It really is. Plum Japanese is what it's inspired by. Oh, awesome, guys. Absolutely awesome. There's plum, obviously, but it's a little bit boozy, a little bit spicy. There's maybe some cinnamon up in the top there. I think saffron's in here too. There's meant to be oud in it, but you don't pick it up like oud. Maybe you do a little, like you would do in oud wood. You know what I mean? Like that sort of smell. It's sort of like, it's got that sort of Tom Ford oud wood sort of smell with it. Might even be cardamom in here too. There's amber. But like, imagine like a smoky, boozy plum sort of dark wood sort of fragrance. A little bit spicy too. Awesome. And just like with the Damber Wabsolute, you know, if you wanted the amber Absolute, you would be paying through the nose for it. It's the same with this. Plum Japanese goes for such a high price now. But just like with the other insider there, you don't need to pay it. Head on over to Insider and pick this up instead. Awesome. I love how this smells. I really do. Check out the atomizers from Insider, by the way. Oh, God, I love how that smells. It's like there's a freshness with it too. Oh, it's so good, man. Another one there from Insider, Plum Harajuku. Now then, I've already got one left. This is the last one. Actually got the original and picked that one up first. This is what it's going after, Fico di Amalfi. Now, it's not the most expensive scent in the world, is it? But what I will say is that this pretty much nails it. It's another one from Rosa Salas, Raisin Frais. It's sweet, bright, fresh fig. A bit of a white florally sort of smell too. Definitely some citruses in there because of how it comes over so bright. It's been a long time since I've looked at the notes on this, but it's that really like fresh, it's almost watery sort of fig. Creamy, woody, like bright, clean smell. Fantastic for warm weather. This is fantastic, guys, and honestly, it's nearly the same smell, and this performs better than that as well. Like I said, Rosa Salas like to do a little bit of jiggery pokery.
Stop fidgeting.
I can't help it.
Try and improve what they think might be a lackluster scent. Now, the Acqua di Parma is absolute pure quality, but this is almost there. So, recommending it because of how close it is, and it's cheaper too. Raisin Frais from Rosa Salas. So that'll do for today, guys. I'm gonna go and get fed. Please do me a favor and smash that like button. You throw me a thumbs up, it does me the world of good. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, make sure you smash that notification bell down there so that you can be notified next time I upload some scented nonsense. And until next time, guys, stay safe, keep smelling good, and I'll see you again. Take care.